Hi everyone, and welcome along to our next module where we're going to be talking about the issue of the Internet of Toys. Let's start by watching a hard-hitting video where we find out why this issue is so important.
Hello there. I have a surprise for you. Come and open the front door.
So as you saw from that video, it's incredibly easy for anyone to hack into an unsecure connected toy and put a child's safety at risk, which we do not want happening. So how do we prevent it from happening? I interviewed Tony, the CEO of Age Check Certification Scheme, and Christina, our Data Protection Officer, to find out more about the Internet of Toys and the current legislation surrounding internet safety. Hi Tony, can you start by explaining what you mean when you talk about the Internet of Toys?
So the Internet of Toys is about devices that are used by children and young people that are connected in some way to the internet, to an app or to Wi-Fi or to Bluetooth, or anything that involves working with information that is shared.
Great, so you'll be creating an assurance scheme for these connected toys. Can you just explain how an assurance scheme works?
So assurance scheme is about providing confidence that something works, basically. So it applies a standard or a test or a protocol to that particular device and will assess whether or not it actually works in accordance with the rules that have been set in the standards.
Okay, so what will this assurance scheme check?
So there are a number of issues with connected toys about how they connect, first of all, whether they're using agreed or a proper protocol to connect, but also about how you inform the user about what it is that the toy is doing, how you ensure that the connection is secure, how you make sure that people who are not meant to be part of that relationship can't break into it and corrupt the connection, and how you ensure that the product does what it says in terms of its privacy and settings.
It's really interesting but a bit complicated. Should we start with terms? So what is ETSI?
ETSI stands for European Telecommunication Standard Institute, and they actually build a new standard regarding the cybersecurity and the consumer of Internet of Things. This standard is 303645, and the baseline requirements for this standard are, in the beginning, there should not be any universal passwords. For example, sometimes the manufacturers are selling products with a username and password by default, admin or admin password, and this in the past contributed to a lot of data breaches. It is advised this practice should no longer continue, and that the products or the services should use among initialization a unique password that is chosen by the user. According to the same standard, the manufacturer needs to have in place a clear policy about how to handle vulnerabilities and reporting incidents. The user should be able to report this in a transparent and easy way, and this should be visible on a website with contact details available to anyone to access. They need to communicate securely, these devices, with the rest of the implicated devices they communicate with, or the internet. So this should be done via secure protocols and not to allow hackers to breach into these devices and steal any personal data or take advantage of its functionalities to For example, make a child do a different thing than the device was actually built for. Among the requirements of this standard is that if there is an outage of power or the device is running out of batteries, for example, it doesn't return on its default settings, but it just resets and goes from the step that the user left the device. The manufacturer needs to consider when designing such a devices what will happen if they run out of battery or if there is a power outage. So they need to put in place steps for the user to take in order to recover the data they have on the device or continue their work as usual. Also, the manufacturer needs to protect the personal data that is stored on these devices. According to the GDPR, the processing of the personal data needs to be done with the consent of the user and in a transparent way, used only for the purposes collected, allow the user to actually delete all the data that are stored on the device and on all the other devices that are connected to this one. Also, give the user the possibility to know exactly at the moment of time what are the data that were collected by this device, where are they stored, what's the purpose of processing them, and how he can have control back to his own data. Manufacturers also need to make sure that the installation and the maintenance of the data on the devices is easy to do and secure. And also the way they upgrade the software and they create this maintenance of the device is done with the user agreement, so there is no surprise for the user where his data is going to and what the manufacturer is going to do with it.
Okay, and what about this new code? The children's code, I think they're calling it.
The Children Code, or the Age-Appropriate Design Code, was built by the Information Commissioner Office in UK, or the ICO as we call it, and it has passed the parliamentary process and now it's in place since the 2nd of September 2020 with a grant of 12 months period transition for the companies to be able to apply it and put it in practice. The standards of this code are the best interest of the child, the data protection impact assessments, age-appropriate application and transparency, the detrimental use of data, the policies and community applications, default settings, the data minimization, the data sharing and the geolocation, the parental controls and the nudge techniques, profiling, connected toys and devices, and online tools. So actually all these 15 principles that are inside this code will build the mechanism that the companies will need to assure they have in place in order to protect the children's rights and their privacy.
And how will these toys be checked?
So there'll be a number of checks that take place. We're looking at, first of all, how they connect and what they connect to and what the use case is for a particular toy. But we will also be looking at the information that's provided to parents and to children about what the settings need to be, making sure they're set as privacy by default. And we'll then be looking at the cyber security of them. So can you break into them? Can you hack them to be able to get them to do something which wasn't intended perhaps? Here we're looking at protecting children from exploitation and abuse by bad actors, people who might not have the best intentions. And then we'll also be looking at the controls in relation to the data that's being collected. So what is being collected, how is it being stored, how do you get rid of it, how do you delete it, and how do you make sure you've got control over what's happening with that.
And how will parents buying these toys know if they've been tested successfully? We used to looking for CE marks. If we see one of those, does that mean the toy is passed?
So the CE mark is going to be going when we leave the European Union. It's going to be replaced with the UK Conformity Assessment Mark, UKCA. And part of the plan is that the assurance scheme will form part of that UKCA mark. And what that will mean is when you buy a toy or a device, the UKCA mark covers it being electrically safe, so you can plug it in, it being a toy safe, so it hasn't got heavy metals or things that are going to poison you with it, and also that it is connected safe as well, that it's something that that it complies with the standards that we're going to be applying.
And finally, can you tell me why you're doing this now? Why is it so important?
So the Internet of Things is a very quickly developing area of activity, and as we approach 5G connectivity, the next generation of mobile connectivity, the Internet of Things is just going to grow and grow and grow, and particularly toys. Children these days are wanting to interact, they're wanting to be immersed in the experience of using their toys, connected to the world, connected globally. And the development of these devices needs to come with safeguards and assurance that those children are going to be safe, the product is going to be safe, and their data is going to be safe.
Great, thank you.